see that we're live, but I'm going to be hiding this, and then we're going to be getting started here in a minute. People are joining rapidly. This is the anatomy of a wildly successful business-to-business AdWords campaign. And before we jump, never mind, I was going to do a little quick poll, and actually you can type into the chat box. How many of you guys are actually doing doing AdWords campaigns right now, business to business? You can use the chat box. It should be over on your left, and then at the very bottom where it says write a message, if you click on that and then click send, you can get a few of those. It's going to be a moderated chat, so which means that Bill is going to be the first one to see everything, and then once he approves the comment, so don't be nasty. Oh, but once he approves things, then he will relay it to me. And since we're sitting right next to each other, we should be able to get this done. Yeah? Okay, so there's at least a few people that are using AdWords campaigns. And let's jump into, let's start actually at the beginning. If you're in the right place, let's talk about some big trends, some things that are going on in the world. So did you know that right now, 77% of the world's population is with a smartphone? But probably more importantly is like half the world, we're all using smartphones. So as opposed to being mobile, it's moving beyond that. And Google processes for this. I don't even know where to go with that. 40,000 search queries per second. And then Baidu, the Chinese company, they're saying that 50% of searches are either voice or image based. And actually, Bill and I have seen this ourselves in the data. The queries are getting much longer. When we look at the data, they used to be 2 words. We just put in something like popcorn, but now we're, where's the best place to buy popcorn with caramel? And the search strings are actually showing up in the data, and we've seen that happen over the years. So longer, more specific searches are coming because we're moving towards this natural language piece of things. And so in our mind, as we look at it, we say search is becoming like electricity. And what we mean by that is, when was the last time you thought about electricity, right? More specifically, when was the last time your kids thought about Wi-Fi and where it comes from? To me, Wi-Fi is a mystery. What do you mean Wi-Fi? Oh, you just logged on to the local Wi-Fi? But the kids, they don't even think about it anymore. Search is becoming like Wi-Fi and electricity. And what I mean by that is, we can't even survey people on it because they're forgetting that they even do it. So when we are talking to our customers that are doing, especially when it comes to complex lead generation, when we talk to their customers say, yeah, we never use the search engines, but they forget. So they're always checking the facts. They're always asking questions of the search engines. So if you can imagine this, Alexa, right? Asking for some hugely complex solution, that is somewhere in the future. So where is Alexa? Where's Siri? Where's Google? Where's this new Apple speaker that's going to be on everybody's desk? Where are they pulling information from? Where's that search coming from? Right now, it looks like Wikipedia, right? That seems to be the test that we've run. It's just Wikipedia searches that are coming back on Alexa. But at some point, it's going to be something else. And our goal is to be there. But as with all predictions of the future, as Peter Drucker said, the only thing we know is that it's not going to be what we think it's going to be. It's going to be different, but we're still going to be playing in whatever this world becomes. Everybody is, including us. And so that's where this is coming from as we look back as to how this campaign went and how it worked. This is what won't be different. How we make decisions as human beings won't be different. I know that there's going to be, Peter froze up here. I know there's going to be more information that's available. I know that there's going to be machine learning via Watson, right? The artificial intelligence, all that stuff is going to be playing a part. But when it really comes down to it, it's still going to be, decisions are going to be made 2 parts emotion, 1 part logic. If you can hear the hesitation in my voice, it's because this thing is frozen. Did it freeze on you, Bill? No? So are you all the way down on? Which slide are you on? Can you see 2 parts emotional.
AI and machine learning via Watson, et cetera.
Okay, you're just a little behind me. And then 2 parts emotion, 1 part logic. So, are you here?
Yes. Yes.
So you can see my screen. So that's the world that we're going to be playing in. This is what we're going to be talking about. So when we talk about anatomy of a wildly successful business-to-business AdWords campaign, it's into that world that we're presenting this. So complex B2B sales, we say, are going to rely on some form of search for the earliest parts of the decision. And when we say complex, I'm going to draw up this little graph for you. Along this line, that's supposed to be a dollar sign, so that's budget control. And along the x-axis, this is the product sophistication that we have, right? So this is a simple product, this is a complex product over here, and then this is a low budget authority, this is high budget authority. And what we're going to be talking about, if down here is I need toner for a laser printer, that's not what we're talking about with the rest of this presentation. But if you're up here, it's something like deferred compensation for executives, where somebody is, where the way the sale is made at the beginning is we are talking about, well, enlighten me, because I don't know why I would need that or how this is going to work, because the solution is going to be so complex and custom. This is what we're working on going forward. So that's the world that I presented. So why would you listen to us, right? That's the first question I would have. Bill Matern and Greg Chambers, 45 years. God, we've been doing this for a while. But the big reason is because we started search engine marketing in '99 with the old go-to auction-based search results where you could buy the top result. But you knew exactly how much it was going to cost. What ended up happening is that over time, AdWords introduced algorithm to it, and that changed the world for everybody. We've spent ourselves between all the businesses that Bill runs and the businesses that I've been involved in over $5 million. Can you imagine that? And product, services, retails. When you break it out by, it isn't so impressive. But when you add it all up, it ends up being a lot of money. So my big point here, and Bill likes for me to point this out, is that what we're about to cover, what I'm about to say, is not the Google way of doing things, especially when it comes to business-to-business complex sales. I don't think that the way that Google asks us to do search marketing works for what we're trying to do. So we're going to kind of do an end around. I've been a Google partner for many years. Basically, what I'm about to show you, this isn't exactly what they teach, but it works, or it's worked in this particular case. So we'll roll through this. I promise you a behind-the-scenes peek, and we're going to do it in these parts. These are the most common concerns that I see, that I hear when somebody is talking, when we end up introducing the idea, you know what we should be doing? We should be doing AdWords. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of times where I bring up we should be doing AdWords, and the first reaction is, I don't want to do that. Regardless of whether or not it would work for the business, there's just something about search. Like, I heard it's too expensive, or I should be doing, I think Facebook ads work better, or these things. We're going to talk just about AdWords, and we're going to address that. So we'll use this case study to address it. Doesn't work for our business because it worked for this business. That it takes too long. Don't have the time or the effort to put in on this. I'll show you how we can work around that. And then ultimately, what most people end up saying is, I think I just want organic, because once that's there, I don't have to keep paying for those results. And I'll tell you how AdWords ends up working together with search engine optimization and how they help each other. We'll have an open Q&A at all times. So Bill is going to moderate it. Just type in your question, and he's shaking his head vigorously. Ready for your questions. And at any moment, if you have questions, relay them to Bill. Bill will send them over to me, and I'll get them answered. And with that in mind, are there any questions before I jump into the first one, which is AdWords doesn't work for our business? No?
Not yet.
Okay. How about this? What is wildly successful? That would be my first question. Is, yeah, okay. You say it's wildly successful. That's a loaded term. What I'm giving you, these are actual results directly from the AdWords part of the campaign that we were doing. So, 152 marketing qualified leads. What is a marketing qualified lead? When I say marketing qualified, this is usually where the easiest way, if you're in sales, is when marketing says, hey, I've got a lead for you, and you think, I'm not even sure I want to follow up on that because it doesn't look good, and the last ones weren't good. That's a marketing qualified lead. What most people are interested in is how many sales qualified leads. So a sales qualified lead would be something where the salesperson is actively pursuing the marketer to get that lead, coming right after it and saying, I need more of those because it was ready to close. So in this campaign, we had 8 sales qualified leads with proposals. So there was a little bit of fluff in those marketing qualified leads, which is to be expected. From there, this is the big bonus that we got is this customer, their average sale is big, $125,000, $150,000. And they were able to get 2 new customers, one smaller, but one will end up being one of the largest customers that they've gotten. And it's the owner will tell you it's directly attributable to the work that we did on this. So $500,000 in new business, and as you hear about our business, you'll know that that ends up adding up to a lot more. To get there, what we did is there was 17 total newsletters that they had to do. So I'm not going to show. What I'm going to show you is not like some massive amount of work that was done. It fit in very well to their existing business. They did a couple white papers, thought leadership pieces, and invested about $11,000 in a CRM. And it's Infusionsoft. And so they've had Infusionsoft for a few years now. If you've ever bumped into that, it is a CRM with marketing automation capabilities. That automation part is important, especially because this is a smaller consultancy. I'm going to say 12 people full-time and then a few people that come in and off. And then they invested about $3,000 to get 1,200 clicks. So, well, sounds good, right? That's wildly successful to us because the ROI, even when you add our fee in, is big. But here's the other. There's one more number you need to be aware of. It took a long time. So that's 4 years. It was nearly abandoned. This project was nearly abandoned 3 times. Most of the work we did was inside of year 1. And the whole reason that we know about all this is because the owner was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he took me out to lunch. And, basically saying, I'm sorry for all the grief I gave you because it's been working. It didn't feel like it was going to continue working or that I was ever going to get anything from it. But now I'm staring down the barrel of, one of my best prospects. And it's because of this work. So that's wildly successful. So with that in mind, let's jump into these. We'll get busy with this. It won't work for us. That's really, I hear what you're saying. You're saying our business is unique. It takes too long. I know that really means how do we know we're on the right track? Because over 4 years, there's a lot of change that happens inside of the business. And organic is better. Since I don't know if I'm on the right track, shouldn't I just be doing organic, which is cheaper? And I understand where that comes from too, right? Content marketing people are saying you need to just do the content. The traffic will come. Be a thought leader, blah, blah, blah. I get it. We'll address each one of those. So let's jump into it won't work for us. So if a business as complex as this, if it works for them, this business is I'm about to describe is a niche business that's either as complex as yours, or if it's not as complex, like it could be more complex as far as where their business comes from. If it works for them, the theory is right. You should be able to find a way for it to work for you. They consult on pharmaceutical marketing. So pharma marketing, it looks like, is about a $5 billion market that they are working into. That sounds huge, but what they do is they do this little peer-to-peer physician education. So the drug companies are working with doctors who are educating other doctors. So it's a fraction of a fraction. As he said, once he's like, Greg, we don't even show up when they do it. They say that the average marketing manager that runs a pharmaceutical product, he spends half on television and half on reps. So oh yeah, medical education should be part of that, and it fits in there somewhere, but it's kind of an afterthought to their target market. That narrow market, pharmaceutical brand managers, these people they're hiding, right? And I know that doesn't show all the details, but like Bristol Myers Squibb, Novartis, and Merck, these guys are, a lot of them have PhD or MD after their names. They are highly educated. It's very competitive. To get these jobs is a big deal. And they tend to be so smart that they know it all, right? What are you going to be able to teach them? So if you were coming in to try to sell them or work with them, what is it that you're going to be able to tell them? Because chances are they're smarter than you, right? Everybody wants them. They're hard to get to. That's who we're supposed to get in front of. So a little intimidating, right? Oh yeah, one last thing. Greg, once they choose their medical education vendor, they never switch back. It's such a small part of their budget that if you don't get in at the very beginning, you never get to get in. So that's the challenge that's set in front of us. So bottom line is, we knew that it was going to be tough. So what do? We started with what we knew, and this is what we recommend for you. So right now, I'm giving you our process, and you can jump right into it. The first thing we did, and these are actually my notes, so I keep these little booklets, and this note was from 2013, and you can't see it all that well, but the owner was in the business before. So knowing that, we worked through brainstorming what are 5 problems that he faced while he was in this particular role on this issue. And ones that jumped out were right here. This is how to run a meeting. So once you have your experts, how is it that you actually run a good meeting that peers would be interested in? And then this one jumped out at us. It was basically a checklist. So this first one ends up being an agenda. So I'll put an A up here. So this is important to us because we can put together an agenda. People love pulling agenda. If you could give me if I were going to run a meeting and you could give me a sample agenda, that's important. And then down here, this was going to be a checklist. Excuse me, right? And that checklist is another thing that people would love to get, right? So this is our idea: is that if these are the problems that these guys face, maybe we can attract them with content around these pieces that would help them do their job better. So after that, we went to LinkedIn and went through his database and connected with everybody that we could on LinkedIn that would, reciprocate with him, as well as finding other people that we needed to connect with. We invested in Infusionsoft, a CRM, to track all activity. It's one thing to send an email blast out to these people. It's another thing to actually see who clicks on it, what they're clicking on, and have a reason to follow up, even though we don't recommend that you, hey, I saw you clicked on our email, follow up on those. But that's what that software is like, and I think it runs, I don't know, the last time we looked at Infusionsoft. Since they want us to partner with them, but it's like $300 a month, something like that, and there's an upload fee on the beginning. And then we also hooked everything through Google. Since Google AdWords was a tool that we were planning on using, we knew that we could use their search console, which lets us pull the sitemap in and shows us how everything shows up on the website shows up in Google, and then also analytics to track all the traffic. So we tried to build a little world where if we presented this information to them and they came to us, we'd be able to at least keep track of that activity. And then we aimed early in the decision process. So armed with all those tools in place, we can start looking at the decision process. And if we view the decision process this way, right? It starts with the recognition of a problem. I need transportation. Right? That is a whatever, my bicycle is not going to work anymore. I got a new job across town. I need to do something. We look at alternatives. So there's, I could look at a car. And inside of a car, what kind of a car do I need? Right? We start going through cars. And gosh, cars come in all shapes and sizes. But what the Chambers family needs is a sedan, and that sedan should have 4 doors to transport our people around. And then we start going into options. Gosh, a sedan can cost anywhere from $100,000 at a fancy new BMW all the way down to a $15,000 Kia or Hyundai or something. So where is it that I feel like I'm going to fit in there? And I'm pretty comfortable with $30,000, and it's going to be Volkswagen and Honda and Toyota. I'm going to go test drive all those, and then after that, I go into best price. So a lot of AdWords is down in here where people are. If I'm looking for a hammock, I search for the word hammock, but I'm not thinking about relaxation because it's too expensive to bid on relaxation and teach people about hammocks. So instead, I just bid on hammocks. What we were saying is we're going to focus up here. And we want to be in the recognition of the problem and analyzing alternatives, because by the time they've decided that they need medical education and they start looking for it, it's too late for us. We're either going to be part of if they're searching for best pharma advisory board provider, A, will have no margin control. B, we're just filling an order for them, and it's not the kind of business that we want to be in. So we have all that working. That's what's working for us at this. So again, we're control that we can control. Still early in the decision process, so we have the tools to track everybody. We're early in the decision process, and we started just looking at the last thing we can control is cost, right? We can control how much we spend on this, how much we're willing to invest. So if his average sale, he's telling me, is $150,000, I divide that by 2, just to be conservative, right? So $75,000, and then I say, how much are we going to be able to influence it through marketing? So that's another quarter of that, right? So there's an influence. And some people's marketing may be more influential. In this case, there's so much work that he needs to do. Even 25% might be aggressive as to how much the marketing actually influenced it. So we come up with a figure of 18,500. And then from that, we can say, gosh, so if I had, so 18,500, if you think about that number, think about that as Bill walks into Greg Chambers' office and says, I have business for you. Like literally the guy wrote me the check. I don't know how to do it. You need to do it. I'm going to give you all the money, but what I want is something in return. And I look at it and I'm like, oh, this is perfect, Bill. This is the exact person I need. I will give you for that $150,000. I got to subtract out all my costs that I got to do the product and the service, blah, blah, blah. I'm willing to pay you $18,750. And Bill's like, that's great. I'll take it. That's the way to think about that cost per acquisition, the target CPA. A sales qualified lead is just how many of those do I need? How many good leads do I need before I close a piece of business? And at the time, we were aggressive. We said it was a third. He's like, listen, if you can get me in front of a third of or 3 of those people looking for this type of service, I can do the business. That leads to, okay, so then if we need 3 of those leads to get 1 sale, we need how many marketing qualified leads to get a sales qualified lead, right? So again, we said we were aggressive, a little aggressive. We said 10. We said if you can just get 10 people who are in that world, inside those, we should be able to find 3 of them, right? Or 1 of them. So we're down to 625, and you'll see where I'm going with this. We basically need to be able to add names for 625. But again, too risky. To add a name into Infusionsoft, the CRM, for $625, even if it's the right title and the right type of company, was too rich for his blood. So we went all the way down. We just said, okay, what about for $50? If we can get new names in there for $50, we're going down the right road. So you'll notice all this is simply a best guess, right? So we haven't done any actual advertising at this point. This is all on paper. And we know, if you look at this timeline that I'm going to try to draw up here, if this is today, the past is perfectly clear, right? We can always look backwards and see exactly what happened, and we know what happened, but the future up here is a guess. So all you can do is, we like to think in terms of, we can do contingent actions and preventative actions. So the things we know are going to happen, we can prevent them. There could be a fire in your place, regardless of how unlikely it is. The fire marshal makes you put up exit signs that light up in case the electricity goes out, right? That's a preventative action. Contingent actions may be, oh, gosh, Bill, you've got all this flammable material here. Maybe we should put it in a lockbox over on the side to help us with other actions. Actually, that sounds pretty contingent too. But you get what my point is. The $50 is a preventative action. It prevented us from spending too much money on this experiment. And since it was so early, we controlled what we could spend. Success, we needed to walk through that too. So even though we've come up with all these numbers and we have an idea of how to track everybody, go through everything, we still needed to define what success was going to be. So before we started, we set the success target, right? That 18,000 that would be successful. If we can get a new lead for under 18, a new customer, a perfect customer, $150,000, his average sale customer for $18,000, we were doing a good job. But what about a failure target? Like, at what point are we going to call this a failure and walk away from it? We needed to set that number, and then we also needed to kind of draw out this livable zone of we can learn how to do this. I used to be in the apparel business. That's where I spent a lot of money on AdWords. And in that business, you would test new products. We sold T-shirts, and so you would test these T-shirts. And even though your margin was really squeezed on some of these designs, when you experimented with T-shirts, if you had one that was starting to sell well, you could always reduce the cost, right? So we worked in that livable zone, and then we tried to make it a success after that. So success for a new customer was sourced under $18,000, he said. Failure was we were going to spend the first $18,000 that we invested all in, which was not just AdWords spend, but he's like, Greg, if I'm spending $18,000 and nothing is happening, I'm out. It's gone. And livable zone was we're getting some marketing qualified leads after around $100. So with that in mind, you ready for results? This is actually what happened. Oh, and of course, it probably shows up so small on your screen. This is April of 2014 to October of 2014. So at that initial 6-month period, and right here, what I had outlined. When you get the slides, you should be able to see them a little more clearly. This was $2.20 per click. So we were aiming early for these medical education people early, and we were able to get clicks, pretty good clicks at $2.20. And I'll talk to you about how we did that. And then we had the conversions all set up on the other end. And what was the conversion? The conversion was that they gave us their email in return for downloading either the agenda or the checklist that we were trying to give them. So their name was added, and it was $12. So that was way cheaper. Actually, the $2.10 was way cheaper. What we were missing was these were barely marketing qualified leads. So what we had there is we had 6 months of livable. Like, there's something there, we don't exactly know what it is. And this is why we kind of had that 4-year battle on things, is because we kept getting enough evidence that there was something good going on, but not enough evidence to say that I can confidently invest in this going into the future. So later on, what he never told me is he had changed the definitions on me. So he's like, oh, well, I didn't tell you, but we did have a couple RFPs in there. We did have a couple things to follow up, like a couple decent opportunities that we just didn't win. Yeah, that's not my fault. But he was able to work his way through it, right? Once he actually saw results, then he goes back and he tells me all the truth, and then we can start making more sense of the numbers. So either way, the point is it was livable. We were on the right track. So that's the first objection. The second one is it takes too long. Am I going too fast, too slow? There's also a little smiley face that you can click on to let me know if this is helpful, if I'm starting to do my fast talking thing.
Nope, we get so far.
You get so far. All right. So takes too long is when will the pain end, right? Greg, when will I actually get to see results on this? The easiest way to do this, first, it takes too long. Yes, it does. It's going to take too long. And the way we are going to manage for time, and what we've gotten better at, is we take the average sales cycle length, not average sales cycle, but we look at sales cycles that have taken a while and really trying to figure out how long they took, and then we add to it. So we say, how long does it take? That's your average sales cycle, and then we add to it, just like this. So we'll just keep piling onto it until we come up with a number where we think, man, if it's going to take that long, I guess it's something. So we can at least, right? We control what we can control. So to control what we can control, hey, look, I must use that phrase a lot. We used a few techniques, and so these tactics I'd suggest you do, and this is especially, this first one is really the opposite of what Google wants you to do. Google wants you to start broad and then go narrow. So they want you to, put in some broad term like pharmaceutical. I don't even know what that would be. Pharmaceutical marketing, and then from that we will eventually get to the point where we find the terms that you're looking for. What we do instead is we use those brackets. We brainstorm, we best guess our phrases that we think that people will use and that would make the most sense, and then we go to the search engines, we put them in, we get the results. Google always has suggested terms, both as you're typing and at the very bottom. We start taking those pieces, and then coming up with what we think our exact terms are going to be, and then we clamp it down. So we tell Google, this is sorry, looks like one of my kids has a doctor's issue. Not a big one. This is summertime and it's acne, so we'll be able to work through that. So we control match logic. We clamp it down. We don't want Google adding in any additional terms, even though they've made some changes that will keep adding in these terms. But I will say that the robots are pretty good, and that the new terms that they're adding in are good. Like, they are suggesting things that I don't disagree with. It's just I never thought of it on the first time. And then we use negative keywords liberally. So negative keywords are, once you know what people are searching for, you can start subtracting out keywords, but we base those strictly off what people have been searching for. When I say use liberally, I mean we are in there daily. We're ruthless. We look at every single term that somebody typed in, and we say to ourselves, what was that person looking for, and am I fooling myself by thinking that it's close, or am I not? And if so, what is the one word in there that I can take out to bring it back down? So we use negative keywords liberally. And then budget. Start that budget low and keep it low. Google will tell you every day you're missing, 256 opportunities, 342 opportunities. You've got to miss them until you know what's working. I think it's bad form to spend money. Spend money on the things that seem to be working, not on the rest of it. So ignore the warning. Google works on data, right? They need this for their world to work. They need this piece up here, right? They need 40,000 searches. They need all this information. You can't live on that. You need to work way down here, and then you need to guess. So every once in a while you'll be guessing way over here, as opposed to where you want to be, but that's okay. Manage it daily to start. And when that looks like, the way you do it is we work a lot in this dimensions tab here. Blow this up. So this is when you're doing your campaigns, you will see a tab on the side called dimensions. And under dimensions, you will see a tab called a little subselect called search terms. This is the only place that Google anymore, they've got this thing so locked down. This is the only place where they're really showing you exactly what people are typing in, misspellings and everything. The rest of the search data tends to be aggregated, and they kind of streamline it and make it easy for everybody to digest. This is one of the last places you can see raw data. So if anybody from Google is listening, keep it on there. It's good, but you can see if you could see these searches, you'll be able to see them when you take a look. It's advisory boards, pharmaceutical industry, right? So that one right there. It's what is an advisory board, pharmaceutical. So you can tell we're really early in the search process. They don't even know what it is. Could be a student, right? It could be anybody. Pharma advisory board. Now we're getting closer to something on there. And you see these numbers, right? It's 11 searches. It's 10 searches. And then 2 clicks or 3 clicks. Here's the thing to remember. This is that same data, but it's 6 months on there. That means that we didn't get 12 impressions in a month. We got 12 impressions over 6 months. 2 a month. You're going to get this warning that always says low search volume. Just ignore it, because Google will show your ad most of the time. They will show your ad if there's enough traffic that they can actually make a little money. The robot is all about making money. That's how you do it. So be patient. So if you're going to take too long, yes, it's going to take too long. I don't know how to, I can't argue against that. It does take a long time, but be patient. And what you should be thinking of is don't think about today, think about 2020. Because in 2020, we are going to be closer to this world. And the more you know about how your customers are using search, based on how they're using search, right, how they're actually using it, you're going to be that much further ahead of your competitors. So my friend who did this, this pharmaceutical advisory company, he is ahead of his people.
So Greg, I haven't talked a whole lot, but one of the questions on one of the previous screens, would this be a good spot to use for negative keywords?
Yes, so on this is where your negative keywords come from. So as you're reading through them, I'm going to see if one jumps out at me on this. How do I join a consumer advisory board for pharmaceutical drugs? So like there's a search in here, and that's what that is how do I join a pharmaceutical, what did they say? How do I join a consumer advisory board for pharmaceutical drugs? That would be one where I'd say consumer. I don't think consumer is what we want to deal in for him, because he is looking for doctors and managers. He doesn't need, they can go source their own patients on that. So that consumer would be a negative keyword. We jump back over into, show it, where is settings and over in here is keywords, and then there it is. And then we'll jump into and add that as a negative keyword. And just say goodbye to anything that happens to be consumer. At the beginning, we're pretty ruthless when it comes to that. Does that help?
Yes. Okay. Always make it as tight as possible, right? I mean,
oh yeah, we're, especially at the beginning when we don't know if it's working. We may go back and eliminate negative keywords and try to broaden searches. But at the beginning, we are trying to figure out what works, and we're trying to find those key long tail phrases, those really long phrases that we can win on, because that's what's going to happen when we get to the next stage, which is organic. Actually, that's a good transition here into organic, right? People love organic because what organic is sold as cheaper. So even though it isn't necessarily like to build all the content, to build your website, to do all the things you need to do, code it correctly, add in schema, tags, do everything, even though that's it takes a lot of work and you have to pay money for it, it gets lumped in as like sunk cost or something. And once you get to a top result, you tend to keep it. So people think it's cheaper. And it is cheaper if you know it's going to work. So a long time ago, Bill, I don't even know if you remember working with the guy, but he had that saying on his desk, "In God we trust, all others bring data." I thought it was a funny bumper sticker, but it turns out it's Deming. W. Edward Deming, the management guru, who used to say that. And that's how we operate here too, is we want to, in God we trust, everybody else bring data. Don't bring me your opinions. We don't want to guess when it comes, especially when it comes to organic, because there is so much back-end work that needs to happen. So most organic is best guess. If somebody's coming in, and they will actually ask you, they'll say, so what do you think your best keyword terms are? Run from that person. They aren't going to help you. The person who wants to dig into past AdWords or ask you what a conversion is before they start building any of this stuff is the person you want to work with. And believe me, there's tons of them out there. We deal with a lot of them. They work with GoLeads because we provide a lot of back office services for them too. So if most organic is best guess and we're trying to get more data, this is how we do it. So if we have our CRM in place, right, and we're using AdWords, we can accelerate the results. We're paying, one of the things that Google is giving us is access to see what those actual terms are that people are searching for. We're paying to see those terms. The reason why they haven't been able to lock it down, they've locked it down in Webmaster Tools, which is now Search Console. They've locked it down in Analytics. But the reason they can do that is because it's free, right? They control the purse. They're trying to get you to spend more money. In AdWords, this is my interpretation. So flashing sign, where's the flashing sign? It says Greg's opinion here. In my opinion, they are saying, hey, you've paid for it. You should see exactly what these people bid on, the exact term that they typed in on that. So that's the information you need to build great organic. So you pay to see those terms. Google's trying to hide them unless you paid for it. And it will inform your marketing and your effort. So if you're on the marketing side, this is the worst thing. Actually, if you're in a room with your marketing people and your salespeople, this is the worst thing you can hear, right? Is marketing says, hey, organic search traffic is up 350% year to year. Month to month, year to year, we're killing it. We're way up. And then sales says, well, we need more leads. Like, where are those things coming from? That disconnect breaks up a lot of organizations, right? It just drives the wall between them because the marketing people start blaming the salespeople. Guess what? The information is actually is in there. They just need to dig it out. Both sides need to dig it out. Sales needs to inform marketing what's wrong with the leads. Marketing needs to get better at pre-qualifying those people through the content. So this is what was better, right? Organic traffic is up 350 year to year, and sales says, you know what? I think our leads are up at least that much. We're seeing it. We're seeing it happen. That's when you know you're on track. So how did we do that with this group? Even though this AdWords case that I'm giving you, the results came from AdWords, there has actually been other results that came from organic. And we learned from the page to test the organic. So we took terms and clicks and conversions, and then we just went and searched. And at the beginning, what we ended up doing, I had to recreate this, but so I searched right there for medical advisory boards, if you're looking at that. And Wikipedia used to show up, right now it's way down here, but Wikipedia was up in here before Google changed their searches. And so with Wikipedia up there, like the easiest organic, I could have built a medical advisory boards, which was getting a few clicks and getting a few conversions. I could build something, or I could just go to Wikipedia. And that's what we did. So in 2014, we just jumped into Wikipedia, found the entry under advisory boards. Down here was medical advisory boards, and put it in as a resource. If you go look at it, it's at the very bottom of the page. The problem is that since they stopped working with me, they changed their website. I sent a note over to them. I don't think they fixed it yet. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys killed the link is still there. Everybody gets a 404. So, yeah, there's only so much, right? You can lead a horse to water. There's only so much you can do. So I say jump in. Look for joint ventures in those search results. Everybody who ranks above you on that term, you should be thinking about them. If you're on the marketing side, right, you should be thinking about joint ventures. You should be thinking about doing Wikipedia entries, because Wikipedia tends to be high up on those early stage searches. The only thing with Wikipedia, if you've never tried to add something in there, be careful. You need to be very informative and not salesy. So you've got to give them 100% of your best stuff. No firewalls, no landing pages, no anything. If there's a report that you're giving them, which in this case we were giving them the checklist, that's what, when they click on it, it goes checklist, or else people on Wikipedia will chase you away and never let you do it. Again, educate, yeah, use strictly educate. So as Bill says, connect, educate, inspire. The connection is through Wikipedia, but then you need to educate, give them your best stuff, and then hopefully that inspires them to action. And 9 times out of 10 it does. Because the one thing that this guy said that isn't in this presentation is Dan, who did the work with me, he said, Greg, my stature has risen over the last 4 years. I get invited to more conferences. I'm invited to speak. Things are happening that were nothing that you were promising. We just kept saying, oh, that's what thought leaders do. And he was in there too. Guest articles. He gets guest articles. He has other people write guest articles. So those are all things to jump in. And I apologize. I'm running wordy, running along. But this is where his results showed up. Is once we started getting that Wikipedia on there, organic, this is referral traffic actually, but that traffic jumped up and stayed up until I noticed that it dropped, because I had run a query looking back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it dropped, and that's when it must have been a website change where that page got lost. So check your dead links and people that are coming in if you get a bunch of 404s. And the reason we know it worked is because we were using pay-per-click, right? We had a mix of we were using Infusionsoft to track all of our results. So this is an Infusionsoft contact page where you can see where people are coming in. And I circled these because you can't really see them, but Novo Nordisk, Astellas, Boehringer Ingelheim, right? These are big pharmaceutical companies, and they are digging up information. Down here was maybe not so good, right? Yahoo.com, AT&T.net. Those are people that don't trust us yet, so they're not giving us the information, or maybe they're not even in the market. But there's some good, there's some bad that comes out of all of this marketing. And it's a process, not an event. And that's really the last thought I want to leave you with is it is a process, not an event. Pay-per-click makes SEO better, right? 3 of these came from pay-per-click. If you look, you can't really see it there, but pay-per-click, pay-per-click, and pay-per-click. The other 3 came from organic. So time is the one thing we can't solve for because we need, but I think the closest we can come to getting that is based on your own sales cycle and the longest part of your sales cycle, thinking of taking somebody from inception all the way through to the end, working on that. So once again, wildly successful. This is only the pay-per-click results, not the organic. So this comes directly from pay-per-click and pulling those papers. And at this point, the ROI, right, the reason this is coming up right now is because the ROI for him is, it makes it easy for him to justify more investment. So Bill said, oh, don't tell him this, but they did. He hired a full-time person to just handle this piece. That person is going to need help from us. But right now, I don't blame him, right? Consultants, hiring us to consult is expensive, but at the same time, we got him to a result that this kid now only needs to implement, right? We'll be able to give the kid new ideas and to help him. And I say a kid because he is. He's super bright and highly educated, and he will pick up on this quickly and hopefully be able to run with it. And here is what Dan said. So you can read it. The big thing is I'm happy that he's so gracious to allow me to share some of this. And the time piece was the piece we both agreed on as we were enjoying our muffaladas. The time piece was the thing that we couldn't solve for. And other than that, this is how decisions are made these days. So at this point, I'd open it up to questions if you have any. I know I talked pretty fast and covered a bunch of information. Bill told me yesterday it was a lot, but I wanted to make it useful to you, so hopefully that there is at least something actionable that you can take and apply to the work that you're doing right now. But if you have questions, type them into the tool. Did any questions pop into your head, Bill?
No, I mean, it's a lot there, but the thing that I always come back to is we're trying to do something that maybe Google doesn't want us to do, or isn't. They want us to start broad, look at keywords that are possibly expensive or just high volume, high priced keywords. When we do a project, we're looking at hitting high in the research, and at the same time looking at long tail, long worded queries, and that are cheaply priced or much less expensive than whether it's a $100 click or whatever the case may be. We're trying to find those $2, $3, $4, $5 clicks, and that we can then start connecting, educating, and over time inspiring them to look at our clients or look at us and say, okay, I think we're ready to talk. And as you said, that takes time, but we get there.
Yes, it's not just because we're cheap, even though sometimes we don't like spending money where we don't have to.
Right.
What's going to happen?
What is a realistic budget to start with?
So that's a great question, and you have to start with what is it that you're willing to pay somebody for that shows up with an actual lead? Like, what would you pay to a broker who sourced a lead for you? That's a good place to start. So there was another financial services company we were working with, and they were paying brokers $3,700 for closed leads, essentially closed leads. And so that was where we started on that, and then we set a budget of double that, right? So then we just said, okay, so that's probably, we're looking at about investing $8,000 since we knew nothing, right? At this point, we're just best guessing. So that's how I would do a best guess, is I would start with what am I willing to pay for, like a good sale, a good average sale. If somebody just walked in off the street and handed that to me, that's a good place to start with that. And then you start adding in, then you work out close rates to reduce that dollar amount. So if it's $7,000, we work out Like, what is an average close rate? Oh, I just need to be in front of 2 of those people. Okay, let's say 5. And then how many leads would you need to actually, a marketing qualified lead would you need to get moving forward? I don't know if I'm answering that question correctly, because there isn't like a dollar amount. If you sell, like this guy I was telling you, I was like, Dan, you need to invest. In the end, you're going to invest a lot of money, and he did. And add our fee in there, but you add our fee in there, and it's good that he was able to finally justify it. But there was tense moments in there where neither one of us were happy with each other. I didn't think we were doing enough work that we had planned on doing, and he didn't think that the results were coming fast enough.
Well, in the early stages, we're looking at, we are working with very finite budgets, and sometimes it is just trial and error. We're learning things. We're learning those keywords. And sometimes we just have to put, you know what? I don't want to spend more than $100 a month. I don't want to spend more than whatever that number is. And just try and can we determine certain keywords, key phrases that then act as conversion points that we can move from an MQL, a marketing qualified lead, to a sales qualified lead. Sometimes it's just putting a budget together. And let's give this a try, and let's work on these types of phrases.
Any other questions? This is, so let's just wrap this up then. This is what we're going to do now, is we're going to quickly summarize this, and then if you're on this list, you will get this distributed to you, and then we'll offer to meet personally to answer questions and provide more relevant examples. One of the challenges with this is of all the people who registered, the over 70 that registered, and all of you that are on here, I don't even know which ones that registered are on, and you're often different industries. We've got everything from ag to insurance. So sometimes we have better examples that we could give you, but I don't know what they are. So we can do that. But we can help everybody who's listening. I'm confident in saying that. So to do that, you just need to tell us about your business and schedule a time to do that. So you will probably hear from one of our reps will be calling to follow up with you. And it's no obligation, but if you want to talk about your business, I'm happy to sit with you. Bill's happy to sit with you and discuss what it is you're trying to do. We also have a few ways that we had come up with learning. I'm not sure that any of these are necessarily going to take, but the first one is I have a self-paced course that we've been working on, and I think I'm almost done. So some of the tools I had given, there were those articles that were downloaded. When you get off this webinar, you'll be directed to a thank you page, which has the slides, but it also has the downloads. And inside there's one of the worksheets from the course. If you think that course is there and you want to do just some self-paced work to do work in your own company, we'll have a course that's self-paced and set up. It will start August 1st, $4.95. We'll do a workshop, which is we'll use a tool like this. I'm not sure if ClickMeeting is the right tool, but 4 weeks of running through actual exercises and getting feedback on those exercises, such as the one product, one solution worksheet. It's one thing to sit there and watch Greg go through it in that demonstration and look through that example. It's another thing to actually work through it, as Bill could attest to. Bill and I went through this a few times. He's like, I don't like it. I'm like, well, this is what we got to do to get to where we need to go. And that's going to be, and then 180-day follow-up. So the reason it's 180 days is after the 4 weeks, when you're putting everything together, the 6 months is a good time to revisit everything and then just break it all down on that. So that's what the 180-day follow-up is. And then individual projects. So like Dan's project was a little north of 20 grand, but where it makes sense, we can jump in and actually not only teach you how to do the work, but do the work right alongside you. And for everybody, we are offering a 15% courtesy discount just because you sat through and listened to this. So if you have any questions, by all means, call us. Hopefully it was informative. Do you think?
Absolutely.
Did we educate? We're trying to educate, and that has been the anatomy of a wildly successful B2B AdWords campaign. There's our email addresses. Feel free to email us, and thank you for attending. Bill, anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Goodbye.